The introduction is the first part of your essay, and it is also the first impression which you will make on the examiner. It's a lot like the poster of a movie. You have to tell the examiner that what's about to come is the good stuff. The introduction is also a way to communicate that you are going to be analytical and concise in your essay. It can make the right or the wrong impression, like the striking contrast between the same person wearing two different kinds of clothes. Before you begin the essay, the introduction can tell your examiner that you've understood the crux of the essay. At the heart of the essay is the relationship between the two things which you have identified, and the introduction tells the examiner what you're not going to do. That you will not be making emotional appeals, you will not be making one sided arguments, you will not be unorganized, that you will not bore him. Please don't create unnecessary mysteries by writing a quote by somebody famous or some mythological anecdote unless it really, really adds value to your essay in a direct way. Otherwise, it's just something which is you're trying to do a difficult literary maneuver which only professional writers use, which you are not required to use. Remember that these are analytical essays and you are not in the storytelling business, you're in the marks getting business. And so, the way to do this, to produce a very effective introduction, is that you just follow this simple four-step method. In the first line, mention what is thing one, just explain thing one in simple language in the first line. In the second line, explain what is thing two in simple language. And in the third line, talk about what the relationship is. Say that it is complicated but very important, and usually this is where the keystone word comes. And if you found it, you can put it here, it will definitely impress the examiner. And in the fourth line, just mention why the relationship is important, and that will form a very effective, impressive introduction. Let's take an example which we've been considering, which you're pretty familiar with by now. Capitalism cannot bring inclusive growth. You know that thing one is capitalism, and so you just follow this method, and you know that in the first line you're just supposed to explain what capitalism is, and based on all the brainstorming which you did, you have all the keywords with you. You'll probably say something like this. You'd say that capitalism is an economic system which allows for private ownership, and this is simple enough, it should do for now. And then you move on to thing two. You've done thing one, move on to thing two, mention what it is, mention what inclusive growth is. Say that inclusive growth is the kind of growth which is inclusive of all dimensions. It includes weaker sections of society, it includes the environment, and also economic prosperity. And we did this in the last lecture. Then move on to the third line where you want to talk about that relationship a little bit. And like we just analyzed a few moments ago, we know that the keystone word is economy. I'm going to use that word here. And so in the third line, we say they're both related to the broader concept of economic growth. At first sight, it seems that the relationship between capitalism and inclusive growth is tenuous, but there is a rich interplay of factors which make it so. Basically, all I'm saying is that the relationship is complicated. And then I finish my introduction by saying that this relationship is of vital importance to the well being of the environment, society, and the economic well being of all. That is a pretty effective and concise to the point kind of introduction. And like you noticed, let your sentences be simple. Don't worry about writing elaborate language because you don't need it. And with practice, you'll become very efficient at this. Now, just to recap what we've been doing all this while, and so far we've gotten a little bit ahead and we have started to understand the SL code technique. It's basically very simple. And what you do is you see the essay topic, you break it up into thing one and thing two. You find the relationship between them, which is the heart of the essay. You brainstorm thing one and thing two, you figure out 12 to 15 keywords. You use these keywords to explain in simple language what thing one is. Then you use these to explain what thing two is. Then you talk about the relationship a little bit. You say that the relationship is a little complicated, but it's important. then you say that the relationship and the harmony of that relationship is very important for everything. You say something like this. And when you talk like this, it is going to appear to the examiner like you have a very, very good grasp on the essay topic. And remember that your essay is going to be judged on some very specific criteria which are mentioned in the syllabus, which we have spoken about in detail. If you haven't seen that video, please go back and check it out. um, the four things are that there can be multiple topics in an essay, so choose wisely. Arranging the ideas in an orderly fashion, which means you should have flow and structure. Keeping closely to the topic means that your expression should be exact, don't stray from the topic, remain on point. Writing concisely means just don't use extra words. Be very succinct, be very pinpointed in your arguments, and most of all, be logical.